Welcome back to the Arise interview, where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things around the world and featuring the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Aniagolu. So, a real sort of perfect storm of problems that have been a drought in much of Nigeria. It looks very much like things are not getting better unless something happens to change the course of this country in 2023. There are political issues, security concerns, economic challenges, the lack of infrastructure in areas like health, power, water, education, etc. People do not have the sort of income they used to have, and unemployment and poverty are deepening. So Nigeria needs corrective leadership and pragmatic governance. And my next guest, Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, who is a pharmacist, politician, and business executive, has today announced that he is going to run for president of Nigeria in 2023 under the banner of the main opposition People's Democratic Party. It is, of course, an aspiration at this stage, but he says he is confident and optimistic about his chances of getting the party's ticket when the time comes.
Many Nigerians across the six geopolitical zones of Nigeria complain of one form of injustice or another. Many decry the lack of injustice, lack of justice, equity and fair play in the way they are governed. And when they are complained, they are ignored. When they complain, they are ignored. And when they complain loudly, they are silenced. The new Nigeria we're looking for is a nation where law and order will reign supreme, where lives will be sacrosanct, where private endeavor will be courted, where the average Nigerian will have easy access to quality education through scholarships, bursaries, and student loans, affordable health care through health insurance, housing supported by mortgage, and where technology will drive service delivery. That's the nation we're looking for. And we're looking for a nation where the office of the citizen will be elevated above the office of the politician. I have been a registered member of the People's Democratic Party almost from the founding of the party. Though membership of the NNG cuts across many other parties, including those who have no party affiliations, I'm glad to announce to you that we have prayerfully decided to run on the platform of my party, the People's Democratic Party.
Well, for more on today's announcement of his presidential bid under the banner of the People's Democratic Party, I'm joined now in the studio by Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Charles.
Prayerfully decided or pragmatically decided? I mean, why do you want to be president of Nigeria? What has happened to get you to this point?
For sure. The principal thing is that having been through all the ladder, climbed from pharmacist in Pfizer to become chairman and CEO, I went into economic advocacy because I thought that was the way to support the politicians. And that's what took me to the Economic Summit Group, where we met when you came to interview me from the UK, to the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, to NECA, and all that we did. We got involved in Fashion Vision 2010, Vision 2020, and all that. But we haven't seen that growth we anticipated. So it looks to me that there's a gap between policy articulation and the evolution of strategy and its implementation. And that's what I think I haven't been prepared from the private corporate side, and also have a fair understanding through serving in presidential advisory councils, committees, with most of the presidents from Babangida till now. I've had cause to support them either on the platform of an ESG or on other platforms to see that we develop a strategy that will take us somewhere. And that hasn't happened. So we then came with a vision that we need to create a new country that will have things happen the way it happens elsewhere. And that's what motivated us. And we've today gone around the whole country establishing the new Nigeria group. And the time has come to indicate the platform, because the new Nigeria group that we have isn't a political party. It's a political movement. So what we have decided is to now, after we all agreed, because as I said, in energy we have different people from different parties, because our focus is Nigeria.
Right.
How can we get the country out of the doldrum? But we all have sat and said, well, it looks like the PDP presents us the best opportunity to access power.
Right. And what sort of barriers do you think you'll have to overcome for you to become president of Nigeria? Because obviously you've got to go through a lot of hurdles, first of all in the People's Democratic Party, before you then get to go to the Nigerian voter.
Well, I think the essential thing is really to make sure that from the party to the populace, that they understand what value you're bringing. We've seen many people play in the political arena, come and go, and we don't seem to have made that progress. So many people are a little bit cynical. They said, we've had this before, we've seen this before. But when we go back and say, yes, someday some change happens, and therefore it's to bring the new vision, new thinking, new fiesta to our party, and then that will also be something we can show to the country. Because I believe that the moment a party that I think is reforming creates enabling ground for everybody to play, then it is what the members of the party see, the value that you create, that will enable them support your candidacy. And eventually the people of the country will see who will do this job better. They have seen all that we've been through. They've seen the poverty in the land. They've seen the corruption. They've seen the injustice. They've seen the insecurity. How do we solve this?
Right.
And that is what I think we are going to bring our strategies and our formula for dealing with this. I think they'll be appealing to the ordinary Nigerian whose life has become of no value.
Well, I mean,
now.
you mention your party, the PDP, there, and I'm curious to kind of drill deeper into that, because I mean, I'm interested in knowing what your reflections are on how the PDP has evolved in opposition since the party lost both the 2015 and the 2019 presidential elections.
Yeah. Well, I think the party was reflecting on why it lost those elections, and have been doing some internal rethinking and reformulation and reformations. That example manifested in the way they conducted the national convention recently to elect the national leadership at the party level. So there's a thinking. First, they have come to find that democracy must work, and it must start with internal democracy. The days of forcing and imposing candidates is gone. So I think from what I hear from the chairman and the new executive is that they're going to create a level playing ground, encourage as many people that have ideas, not just relying on the known old names that have been recycled severally. Because if they want to win the election in 2023, which they want to do, they must see that they understand what Nigerians are asking for. Nigerians are looking for freshness, fresh ideas. They are looking for fresh approach to the problem, because if we continue the same way we've done, there can be no change. So that makes those of us who are, in quotes, new, more, who could get a fair chance.
Gives you greater confidence.
Greater confidence.
Right.
They are willing to listen to new things, because they know that if they don't do it, the chances will be narrow.
Right, okay. Well, now we've got you here, and we know that you want to be president. You obviously have pretty big ambitions to want to be president. I mean, what is it about your own journey through life as a Nigerian that makes you think that you have the ability to govern a country as complex as Nigeria, beyond the general desire to want to make a difference?
Well, I guess you know, Charles, to become CEO of a multinational, Pfizer in West Africa, over a 15-year period from when I joined in 1978 and 1993, I became chairman and CEO. That shows competence, the ability to deliver on assigned responsibilities. Then when I became chairman, I eventually led the management buyover of Pfizer. I was able to generate resources, get people together to do a major management buyover. That's high wire economic and financial engineering. We borrowed money from banks, consortium of banks, and we're able to pay off that money and then still returned keep the
but
business
that's,
going.
that's a
training.
company.
That's training.
That's a company.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not
I'm
a
starting with
large,
that.
unwieldy country like Nigeria.
I'm starting with that, sir.
Right.
Because the principles of management are universal. It's just a question of application, small scale, big scale. Now, beyond that, I ran organizations like the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Nigeria Economic Summit Group, Nigeria Employers Consultative Association. These are groups of people from different parts of the country who have different worldviews, different perspectives, and different diversities. And I found that the principles are similar. What everybody does is to make sure that you are fair, you are equitable, you put the facts on the table and get everybody to make their contributions. And in the dialogue, you're able to distill what is correct and then come to a conclusion of what needs to be done. Managing diversity is what you learn in dealing with these issues. I was a member of the Nigerian Political Reform Conference, and in each of these, you run into Nigerians of different classes and diversities. What works everywhere is that what is fair to you is fair to me, and that your views are heard, mine is heard.
Yeah, but you know that you can't always be fair. I mean, that's the whole point of governance. That's the whole point of the rule of law. The perception will be sometimes that you will have to take very tough decisions, which is what happens in a lot of circumstances of governance. That's where the real test comes in.
Yeah.
But beyond that, what are the specific things that you intend to do to dramatically fill the gaps and improve the lives of Nigerians, particularly with regard to fundamental things like the economy, healthcare, education, security, unemployment? Briefly, because we've got about a couple of minutes before we take a break.
Charles, Nigeria is facing real issues, and you can categorize them and prioritize them. The first problem facing Nigeria is poverty, which is economic driven. Our productivity is low. So what are we going to do? We're going to excite productivity, first by ensuring that we turn Nigeria into an investment haven. We create an enabling environment, first ensure that, just as you say, law and order, a regime of law and order, you ensure that security is existing in the country, security of lives and property. You produce the kind of incentives that will make your region, your country, more attractive, more rewarding to investment. Investment flows from where it is rewarded to where it is less rewarded. So we're going to turn Nigeria around to be an investment destination. The moment we get that investment destination, both domestic and foreign, we will then have this investment ignite the setting up of businesses, projects, and programs. Businesses, projects, and programs will hire labor, will employ people. Labor will create wealth. Wealth will drive poverty.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but
yes.
I mean, you're saying something that a lot of people have said. There's typically been an absence of policy with Nigerian candidates in the past, most of them managing not to spell out a clear vision about how they intend to implement the reforms that will help to deliver the future prosperity that they promise. So the issue is not the promise. The issue is not saying, I'm going to do this. The issue is, how are you going to buck the trend?
And that's
we got 30 seconds.
That's what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
That first, you need to do a proper policy devolution and evolution. And then set this policy in a manner that is implementable. You agree with your captains, with your lieutenants, we're going to work with you. You set a vision. This is what we want to achieve in year one. For example, we're driving to make Nigeria a first world nation, and it's productivity. Bring investment, create a double environment, hire the right people, and then motivate them, provide the resources, and move on to the keeping the...
We're going to come back to drill down further into that. Stay with us. You're watching the Arise interview. Plenty more still ahead as we continue our chat with Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, who has today announced his intention to run for president of Nigeria in 2023 under the banner of the PDP. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Arise interview. I'm Charles Aniagolu. So another presidential hopeful declares his ambition to run for Nigeria's highest office in 2023. His name is Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa. He's a well-known pharmacist, politician, and business executive who was chairman of Nigeria's premier economic think tank, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. But In a country weakened by insecurity, underdevelopment, poverty, and deep ethnic splits, does Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa have a clear vision about how he intends to implement the reforms that will deliver prosperity and rebuild bridges? And the pharmacist, politician, business executive, and now presidential aspirant Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa is still with me in the studio. Thank you for staying with us. Sorry we had to interrupt you earlier and take a break. But do you agree that what Nigeria needs is a firm, reform-focused government?
Absolutely. We need to reform and indeed reinvent the country. That's why our ideology is capsulated around the new Nigeria concept.
Right.
We need to build a new Nigeria because the old Nigeria has failed in different dimensions. Is it promise to the young people? Is it job? Is it education? Is it healthcare? Is it life expectancy? Is it quality of life? In most dimensions. So we need to recreate Nigeria. And as I was just telling you before the break, what do we need to do? We understand the problems. I believe that we do. What we don't have is the understanding of how the problem is to be solved. Or we don't understand the prescriptions for sorting them out. So that is where we are bringing the execution ability and capability, which we brought from the private sector. Because we look at things based on results, not on effort. You know, I mean, we decide that we want to grow our economy by 20% growth in GDP per annum. The turn is to decide what are the factors that drive economic growth. What will make you grow your GDP? And you understand the investment is one. Create the enabling environment, put the right policies, put the right incentives, and put the right measure. At the end of every quarter, we sit down, as we sit down, a CEO or executive management with your ministers and all those you're working with, and take stock. Where are we? Why are we not where we're supposed to be? Why did we not make it? I don't see that kind of details and the kind of being bothered. I mean, people come and tell you story. Nigeria held for all by the year 2000. We'll get to 2000, and everybody just keeps moving. Nothing happens. They set up in. That's not our training. You won't be CEO of a multinational. You won't be chairman of Nigeria.
You would last.
You will last. They change you. Okay? So we want to bring that discipline, that rigor, and drilling down problems, not treating problems superficially. Nigerian problems are hinged on a number of factors. First is a poor understanding of the critical issue, which is poverty. Poverty is determined by a decision by a country to say we are going to create an enabling environment for the private sector investment. Governments don't create more jobs. What they do is, what does it take to get the multinationals and our local companies operate? Is it to create the right infrastructural environment? Is it the policy tax environment? Is it the freedom, or is it the macroeconomic stability? Is the foreign exchange policies? We know that if you get the right policy, investments will flow.
Yeah, but let's take one instance.
Okay.
A problem that has plagued Nigeria for decades, electricity. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, we've had successive governments come and go with promises of fixing electricity, and none of them have succeeded.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the problem has deepened. It's got worse. There are so many levels on which you have to, I mean, not only deal with the fixing the problem, but the amount of investment you need in that sector.
Yeah.
What would you do to sort out the electricity problem, which is fundamental to development?
Charles, you've said the right thing. It's very fundamental to development, because to move from where we are under development to other medium income to high income nation, the name of the game is productivity. Investment, productivity, output. And you can't do that without energy. For me, the energy problem in the country, we already have the formula, but we refuse to take it. And I give you a case. Somebody in this country made a proposal to ring fence a particular city to be able to produce power for that city, and therefore take it out of the national grid, so that whatever we're producing in national grid will be available to go to other areas. And that place will get power 24/7. He said, say, go ahead. He built the plant, politics came, and they were unable to let him fire it. That is the problem. You see, what you need to deal with issues in Nigeria is you need a leader who is competent, has good character, has courage, who who is looking for nothing for himself. Most of our problem is self-interest, selfish interest. When people are looking to do things to benefit them or their friends or their brothers, they begin to think in the wrong manner. If, sir, if that guy is allowed to run the plant in Aba, another one runs in Ibadan, another one, 2, 3 run in Lagos, giving Lagos power, overnight, there will be no power to go to Enugu, go to the less places
I
where
agree
can recover.
with you in theory.
But why is it? Why is it?
No. Well, let me explain why.
Yeah.
I agree with you in theory.
Yes.
The problem is the other thing that you correctly identified, which is the politics.
Yes.
Because what happens is that you're not going to be president forever. Yeah. So timing is absolutely crucial.
Sure.
If, for example, I mean, we know, for instance, that building a power station and building all the things that, because it's not just just generation, it's transmission, it's distribution, it's all the rest of it.
Sure.
On average, it takes probably about 3 years. Let's just to get all the elements in. So depending on timing and when you start, you really can't guarantee that you're going to give electricity, can you?
Well, unfortunately, the government that's failed us was also the government that gave the opportunity, was part of the government that gave that concession. Go and build a plant.
Well, actually, you're talking about Geometric.
Yes.
Geometric started building in the Obasanjo time, and then it transited through the Yaradua time, then into Jonathan's time.
Yeah.
So it went through a very long period of time with different administrations.
Correct. But what I'm saying is that as much as now it doesn't take that length of time, there's new technology where in 22 months you can get an electric plant running. And we're not talking of other renewables. We're not talking about solar. We're not talking about gas. Gas-fired
But we
turbines.
should be talking about it.
I'm just saying that even if we're looking at what we currently have, first is generation, and we can multiply generating plants through this mechanism. Second is distribution, and distribution is easy if you allow separation. Instead of doing a national grid where you're going to have inefficiency and the things are broken and stolen. We will repeat this, since we have the template, in 3 years, we'll be able to solve an electricity problem in the country. It is not as complicated as much as you allow private sector investment, and we start from areas where costs can be recovered, like industrial cities, like industrial states and urban areas, costs can be recovered. Because part of the problem facing us now is that we're putting everything on the grid and we're generating plants, we cannot recover the cost because we're subsidizing for everybody. That way will not work, and it's lack of courage to do the right thing. People don't want to face that. I mean, if you want to eat an egg, omelette, you must break the egg. Just like you said, there's a time to show fairness. There's a time to show strength, because the leader has a job, is to see a future that is better than the present. His job is to sell it to the people that this future, we may have to make some sacrifices. Yeah, but we're getting to somewhere, because if we didn't go, we'll remain where we are. Okay. So that's the method to solve the electricity.
We've got 60 seconds before we have to end the chat. Sure. When you get out onto the streets and down to the grassroots, which I'm sure you've done, what are you seeing and hearing on the ground? Do you see a lot of anxiety and fear and despair about the future?
I see people tell you Nigeria is redeemable. People tell you don't even try, don't bother. Why don't you just go to Dubai and leave? Why are you doing this to yourself? I say, I'm doing this to myself because I've lived in a country that did well for me. I went to school on scholarship. I got a job the day I left school. I got 3 jobs. I got car loan. I bought cars. I lived well. I've worked, retired, and I'm earning. I've made investment. But my children can't get married except I carry the burden. I don't know what will happen to my grandchildren because they don't have work. When they have work, they are paid pittance. Money that has been devalued, that can't buy anything. So my concern is for the future generation.
Okay. Mazi Sam Ohuabunwa, thank you very much indeed. That's it for this edition of The Arise interview. Join us again tomorrow. From me and the entire team here in Abuja, bye-bye and thank you for watching.